Lawyers with Supreme Court business paid Clarence Thomas Aide via Venmo.
Yeah, Clarence Thomas is just a sea of corruption, and we can see it from his aide, who literally got paid through a Venmo by a lawyer who would eventually bring a court case to the Supreme Court. Nothing is going well in the Supreme Court, but you can see here that there's so many points of, self-interest being made. I don't know how else to put it. Thomas Clarence has corruption all around him.
Ooh.
They say this was for a
one of
Christmas
the lawyers.
Party. Yeah,
from
it was several lawyers.
Specifically from the ending the
race conscious admission. So basically affirmative action.
Yeah, affirmative.
So the lawyers presenting the affirmative action case were also the same lawyers giving Venmo money to Thomas Clarence's aide. And they say it was for a Christmas party. But that's just it just seems too good to be true. Also, isn't there a conflict of interest when you're there at the Christmas party?
This should be impeachable.
Like, it reminds me when Thomas Clarence's wife was part of a Supreme Court case. And it's like, yeah, I won't refrain from doing a court case against my wife. It just, conflict of interest is written everywhere. And you don't give a fuck. You don't care about the goodness or the holiness, the sanctity of the court. If you're willing to fight against or fight for your own self-interest.
Let's see. Former clerks,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, this is, there's
a lot of many stories.
Huh?
It's just one of many stories that,
It makes me sad that, groups like Project Veritas and Judicial Watch, two conservative groups that like to act like watchdogs and never talk about this type of stuff.
And people get crazy over the laptop of hell, and they'll talk about how Biden is paid off, Hillary's paid off.
Oh, they have drugs in the White House, but it's like, man, they've all done drugs. Every last goddamn president.
So what do you think the SCOTUS is doing in their holiday getaways? It's like so many of these people do drugs.
They're above the law. Yeah. Laws don't apply to them.
Like, who do you think is going to stop them? Like, nobody's going to stop. They're literally part of the highest court of the land.
Yeah. Who's gonna carry out the freaking legal sentencing? Like,
and they even said to Congress, "There's pretty much nothing you can do to stop us." There was a committee for ethics against the Supreme Court, and they're like, "Well, technically, that's just a guideline, not a regulation." And it's like, okay, so you're just saying the other branches of government can't, subject you to any
no checks and balances for you.
Only when there's a supermajority.
Only when there's a president that can stack the House against you. But even then,
I don't think stacking the court would work.
I just don't think Biden has the balls, frankly. The cojones.
Well, I don't think stacking the court, because it's a short-term goal. Like, short-term, it would work. Arguably not even to that great of effect. Because let's say you get somebody like Biden or Hillary, an establishment Dem, who's like, yeah, I'll stack the court. I'll put 12 instead of 9. Those 3 extra are going to be neo-lib Dems who are establishment Dems who care about capital and corporate interest. Maybe you'll get back Roe v. Wade, but in the coming years, they'll die. They might be replaced by a Republican, or the Republican will come and be like, 12, let's do 15.
Enough progress won't be done in the time.
And enough progress won't be done because neo-libs are incrementalists. They don't they want to do everything slow.
So,
but also the people who come in
are came around to my side a little bit, huh? See, I just want to make a point.
Well, I'm just saying, if your point is to get a lot of things done in a short amount of time, because that's what stacking the course would be.
Yeah.
You're trying to get everything in before the next group comes in and puts in their stacked group.
That's my problem with neoliberal Democrats. Is that you're right. Because, me and him have always had a debate between incrementalists and extremists. I think we both kind of agree that it's a bit of both.
Yeah.
But I think there are flaws in both ends. Extremists, they tend to be the guiding star in movements, but they also tend to be the most controversial members. While also, but on the other end, neoliberals, they tend to lack ambition when they actually have power.
Yeah, but if you're going to be an incrementalist, at least have the rules and regulations to stop corrupt people.
But you need to be ambitious enough to actually push those laws.
That is also true. But then again, it's what are they going to do?
But at the same time, though, you can argue on the other end, extremists are ineffective because...
I don't think stacking the courts would work because at the end of the day, you're just going to have 3 more people who are Democrat, quote, but are still very corrupt.
Probably Blue Dog.
Yeah,
probably,
Blue Dogs.
Yeah.
And the thing is, when you saw the Supreme Court come out against checks and balances from the Congress against them,
Uh-huh.
I mean, it was the majority. If I remember right, it was 8 out of 9. The only one who was even against it was Joe Biden's newest Supreme Court delegate, Jackson Brown, Ketanji Jackson Brown. I forgot her name exactly, but you have all the other Democrats. They're basically just saying, "Oh, like it is what it is." Well, you're gonna have a bunch of Democrats who are also corrupt, and bringing them in without stopping the corruption doesn't mean you have more corrupt people in there. And you have to attack corruption at its source. You have to put in the checks and balances to stop them from being paid actors.
What's ironic is that one of the self-defeating parts of the left, nominally speaking in America, is that war of incrementalists and more extremist views. It's like, while I think the incrementalists are better at seizing power, they are worse at doing anything with it.
Well, by definition, because they do everything slow.
Yeah, and that's an issue that I think, first off, young people need to get more involved. But I also think it's just a problem with the left in general being so conservative in this country that the progressive left is still kind of recent phenomenon, like a realistic nominal left.
Mm-hmm.
Like it started with Bernie. I mean, if you want to be real argumentative, maybe it started with Occupy Wall Street and the anti-war movement. But the progressive left hasn't been a thing for that long, and I think that's one of the big problems.
Mm-hmm.
It needs more time to mature. I hate to say it. Time is just... It's not on our side, though. That's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Is that, the left's been so thoroughly crushed in this country.
The money isn't on... A lot of things aren't on this.
Well, leftists can organize with far less and do far more. But at the same time, we don't have the time. That's the one fear I have, is that, climate change especially, being what it is, the 7 hottest days in a recent record. It's like... Corruption is a hard thing to stamp out when the world's burning around you.
And even then, how are you going to defeat a system that relies on the corruption that Citizens United has brought?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to try to fight against your own political party, the DNC, and there's other commentators who say that you shouldn't even side with the DNC and you should just do a third party. But at the end of the day, when they're the ones controlling the government, it's hard to even fight them if you don't join them.